Hello, everyone, and welcome to Late Night Unite. Kirk Doob Snacks Dubay, and I am with Kanashii. Kanashii, how you holding up this evening?
I'm doing good. Rolled out of work, got some food in me, and I'm ready for this podcast.
You got the double glasses on. You got the Alola Hawaiian button-up shirt. I know you were thinking shirt and tie, and really just blow my style out of the water because I'm literally wearing a cycling cap and a t-shirt. So I'm glad you decided to dress it down for me a little bit.
Yeah, it's that, and like I don't want to reveal like all the tricks in the book, all of the bow ties. We still have a lot that are in the arsenal, and I'll just slowly roll them out. You guys might start seeing doubles on broadcasts, but I have some pretty solid ones.
I kind of feel like your pool is deep, right? Like a magician's scarf. It just keeps coming out of the sleeve. And when does it end? Nobody knows. Kanashii knows. Nobody else knows.
Yeah, and we'll just keep that in the back pocket and until it runs out, and then I start throwing up even more bow ties.
There you go. There you go. Kanashii, thank you so much for joining me. Obviously, a caster for Pokemon Unite, working on other things in Pokemon Unite on your YouTube channel, which I'm excited to get into because I found very, very interesting. But before we go completely off the rails and moving too far forward, Kanashii, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh man. Okay, so I'm Kanashii. I am I wouldn't say yeah, I guess I'm a variety streamer. I also cast a variety of esports games. I've been doing it for almost just about 5 years now. And it's just an amazing journey, and it's just a lot of fun doing commentary in general. I started off as a play-by-play commentator, shifted over to color, and now I'm kind of like a hybrid of both. So it's a lot of fun to just figure out like the flow, and depending on who you're casting with, depends on which switch I have to flip.
And it's amazing. I'm sure you are far more vetted into this than I because you cover a bunch of different games. But I feel like you probably are able to just switch on the fly. You don't need to have too much planning to be able to slot into the role and hit it pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun because like different people will give you different things, and then you just have to pick up and figure out like, okay, how does this person operate? How can I flow with them, and how can we make this broadcast like amazing? Just like make it something that people will remember.
Which you definitely have a talent for. And you've been carrying along with Dr. Kendo, who I got to work with recently. Great human being. That was our first interaction. And I think things went pretty well. But you two are anchoring the Victory Road Unite tournaments, which is kind of what, kicked off the scene, if you will, the competitive scene.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and it's really funny because like Kendo and I didn't get on until Unite Clash number 2. So we're like, we don't know what happened to number 1. But like, yeah, we've just been like on the same train, on the same boat, through Victory Road Unite. And it's really great to see like all the teams like make the come up, see what they're up to, what different things they bring out each month. Like even if the patch notes themselves don't change, like they're more playing the other people who they've like matched up with so many times versus playing like, a very standard game, because at certain points you have to start playing, the other team. What do they like to do? And it's a lot of fun to see that evolution. And then once again, through patch notes as well, everything does change, and they take a shot in the dark and see what works and what doesn't.
The speed at which these teams adapt and evolve, not only to whom their opponent is, but to use, as you said, the patch notes, is incredibly, incredibly impressive to me. I do want to keep this commentary train going, but I do want to drag you into the way back machine, and let's go back 5 years and perhaps even further. The first question I like to ask, because it's just a general interest of mine and something I find interesting. Kanashii, where does that come from?
Kanashii. Kanashii means sadness or depression in Japanese. There's actually two reasons. I just went over this with my escape room people because I almost like what is it? I almost introduced myself to a group with my stage name, and I was like, this could be super awkward." But it means sadness or depression, and I changed that because like I went through a really depressive spout when I had like my old username, and then I changed it immediately. But the real reason was when you wear a jersey, the name is printed on the back, right? So I'm literally putting my depression behind me and moving forward, and that's the reason why I picked the name. And also it rings really well. So that's also another thing. It's way better than my old like tag, and it was just a bunch of numbers and letters. So this one's just solid.
it's clean, it reads well, and I love the metaphorical. Hey, I'm putting that depression and sadness behind me. That's big brain. I wish mine was that clever. It's not. Okay, so. I love that story. Everybody's story of how their gamer tag comes along is just so different from yours to, I don't know, it's like my last name with a Y or what, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I just love hearing those stories. But let's talk about casting now. Obviously, if you started 5 years ago, you did not start with Pokemon Unite. So what was your journey into casting? How did you discover that you enjoyed doing it? And then how did you find the games that you wanted to cast? And obviously bring us up to Pokemon Unite.
Yeah, so 2017 was when I started. That is when I graduated from college, and my first experience with like esports as a scene was through Overwatch. I played on the B team for the Overwatch team at my school during my last semester, and it's really unfortunate because like that group that we had was like really tight knit for being the first one, and it was just a really good like group of people, and we all ended up splitting off and doing other esports things. But after I graduated, I ended up becoming the coach and still like helping out in the esports field for them. And then I ran into Mushu Beef, who is one of my personal he's one of my mentors who really brought me into this, and he's from Broadcast GG. If you guys have heard of that, it's just a really good space to train either in FPSs and a whole bunch of other games. They do League as well, where they just help like new casters who are just trying to get their foot in the door, or just even trying to just get reps in general. They schedule up like matches between like tier 2, tier 3 scenes, and then they just let you cast it. They're like, okay, here's the footage, go ahead and test it, and then we'll let you know how you feel about that. So I started off with Overwatch League, and Overwatch in general, since I couldn't play on the team for the longest time. And then after that, love with casting in general. My mentor brought me around to other places. He said, okay, you're good at the school, but how do you do it at a like activation event? How would you do at the Razor store in San Francisco? How would you do like in a huge crowd, like at a state fair or at a local convention? How would you handle yourself? And he really just threw me through the fire on Overwatch, and that became like the thing that started me off in casting. During the pandemic and during like Overwatch had like a slow decline in terms of popularity when Valorant kicked up. And then when Valorant started, I started casting the collegiate scene for Valorant. So I did, Pacific Gauntlet, anything that was on the West Coast, I was a part of, along with my casting partner, Artie. I love that guy. And we're two completely different dynamics. He's a play-by-play, like fast hype commentator, and I'm like the slow, mellow one who has to, we even each other out really well for that. So I still do Valorant on occasion. We actually have another event coming up in May. And then for Unite, like Unite came into my life when I started to I played VGC, and then I was like, Pokemon Unite is literally a MOBA kind of game that we get to play Pokemon with. And that took me all the way back to like before I was casting. I used to watch Dota 2 a lot, and I love Dota for that fact. And I knew that if I were to bring it full circle back to a multiplayer online battle arena, and it happens to be Pokemon Unite, this is going to be the stepping stone for me to get in. And it's really interesting because like I take all of those like multi-million-dollar tournaments and listening back to like the calls that make that like such a historic moment, and trying to like weave that into Pokemon Unite, and seeing like crazy things happen during the last 2 minutes. Like nothing is safe until the final stretch. So
Yeah.
all of that is the hype that is being built until literally the final buzzer.
I mean, it's an absolute ride, and I think you nailed it on the head. Including myself, you just kind of felt like something was going to be different with Pokemon Unite. Obviously, Pokemon's an incredibly strong IP, obviously, but there's just something like kind of transcendent with Pokemon Unite as compared to the other Pokemon games that are in circulation right now, and it's it's refreshing to hear you say that, because that's exactly how I felt at the time too, right? The only slight difference is I've never played a team banner like that before. So for me, it was just, I love the IP. I love this new style of game. And my casting background actually started in Pokemon TCG, which of course is a much slower, grindier type of commentary style, which I loved. Obviously, that's where I grew my passion. But I mean, for those that know me, that doesn't necessarily fall in line with my personality either. And in my mind, I was like, I love this IP. I love what's going on here. This is something that I can kind of sink my teeth into. And then I started finding the old Dota matches that I was watching, just get an idea of how MOBAs function and stuff like that. And those moments, they kind of, lock in your heart. And I don't know. I'm just right there with you. Everything you said resonates incredibly well. Incredibly well.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun to like understand that your voice is going to be a part of like this moment. Like if you saw like, a whole team was just ready to collapse onto Zapdos, and then it's just like the one Chansey with like barely any HP throws an egg bomb over the wall and gets the last hit on the Zapdos. You're like, okay, this just changed everything. This is the play that won him the game. And yeah, it's the same thing that goes with like other MOBAs, where like the game-winning play is the one that like you remember. And if for Dota 2 reason's sake, like because they have like the largest prize pool in esports, when the play happens, they say it's like this amount of money won the play. So like there was like the $18.6 million Echo Slam. Like you don't forget that number, or the $1 million Dream Coil and stuff like that. And you're just like, oh my god, like these moments are what define the history of the esport, and it's just great to be a part of it.
Yeah, the thing I enjoyed about this type of game is you look at Dota, you look at League of Legends. I mean, the longevity is there, and being there from day one, and hopefully, the game gets the support it needs, grows, it's growing fairly well, that it's getting good support in the competitive scene. And I hope it continues to do so that we can be part of that ladder climb as like, wow, it's going into year 2, year 3, year 4. And, the passion is still there. There's so many Pokemon in the pool that can be chosen from to kind of build the roster of characters you can select from, which is incredibly exciting as well. So, I mean, when you thought Pokemon Unite, were you thinking, a little bit further than the end of your nose? Like, what does this look like in a couple years from now? Or were you just like, I love this IP, I love this type of game, I'm going to bring my kind of esports experience full circle and dive right in?
Definitely the second. I haven't been like thinking about like, oh, okay, the longevity of this game can be, X, Y, or Z. Like a lot of people have talked about when like I used to go to esports conferences, and they were saying like the shelf life of a game is really important and how long that can sustain itself. And I'm just like, I don't care, because like my voice and the way how, as casters we present the game, I feel like as long as we understand the game to a certain degree, we can always give that. And that is something that, if Pokemon Unite like happens to go for another 10 years, I would love to be a part of it. But like when it like in this moment, like we are just embracing everything that is giving us all the new, Pokemon, all the new support and everything that's coming out. We got the Unite eSports Twitter now, so we could follow up and keep up to date with that whole scene. So all of that is just really exciting, and I'm just like I want to be in it. I want to eat that up right now, and that is exactly how I feel about the space and where it's going right now.
Yeah, it's something that really gins me up and gets me excited. And I don't know how familiar you are with, you said you played Pokemon VGC and Pokemon TCG. But having Unite Esports, having that esports stamp from the Pokemon company on that, saying this is what we want this to be. Also, in the official broadcast, naming teams by their sponsored team name is huge, because, team jerseys aren't allowed on camera at Pokemon TCG events, and I can't speak for VGC events, but I don't think they're allowed there either. The person has to put on the plain Play Pokemon t-shirt for, the branding we're on stream and stuff like that. But the fact that they're taking a little bit of a different slant, they're taking a different look, I mean, that gives me a lot of excitement.
Yeah, and if anything, it also inspires like I would say other sponsors
Mm-hmm.
to start maybe looking into it, because this one they're being a little bit more lenient. They're allowing like, the names to be present. I don't know, once again, like about live broadcasts and jerseys, because we haven't had like a full event of like everybody being in one place at once.
Sure.
But I get excited over the thought of jerseys, and if we do see like certain players starting to get jerseys, like you bet that like if we even get fans in the stands too, like that would definitely be a way to really support Pokemon Unite as an esport, and getting a lot more people excited about the game, even if they might not necessarily like be huge competitive players, just enjoying what the game has to offer.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, without a doubt. So you're working on Overwatch. You're obviously doing some Pokemon Unite as well. Excuse me. You mentioned Valorant. You have in May.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other games that you have in your tool bag that you are ready to cast at any given time?
Ooh, that is really interesting.
Besides all of them, obviously.
Besides the ones that we've listed already, I play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh too. That's another fun one for me. I like slower like games like that. I've also done just random like I have like this whole PowerPoint that I used to give at like esports talks and summits about like how to feel comfortable casting different things. And one of them was like, there's like basic ones of like people who understand like fighting games. They're like, okay, here's Street Fighter, here's for like League of Legends and Dota, here's these ones, here's Overwatch League, Valorant, all that stuff. And then there's one at the bottom that just says surprise me. And I love it when people pick that one because it's Tetris. And you just you give them Tetris and you're like, okay, this is a head-to-head Tetris match. Go ahead and cast this. And they're like, okay, there's like blocks falling, and I'm like, okay, so now just talk about like where is it going? How is this escalating? And then they start getting really invested in it, and that is something that I feel like all gamers like have at some point. They're just like super invested in the game, and once you're able to articulate what's going on for everybody, it's even better. And yeah, for me personally, it's just like if I'm comfortable with the game, like I've played a couple hours on it, I would love to cast whatever people happen to throw at me.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. For me, it's about my level of excitement that I share in the moment and conveying that. I just love games. I'm unfortunately not as talented as gifted to be talented at playing them. I love playing them. I'm just not that great at it. But doesn't mean I don't get super jazzed up when something awesome's happening. So what can I do? Lend my voice to bring people along with the ride that I'm taking in that moment.
Yeah, and it varies too, because like you don't know the audience on the other side. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people are like in that competitive space and they're like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. Ooh, Blissy's using Safeguard. Ooh, Blissy's using, Soft Boil Egg Bomb for some reason. Like, why is that? And you have those people, but then you also have those people who just come in and are like, Pokemon fun. And you're like, yeah, Pokemon fun. Let's go. So it's always about bringing in, like, including everybody, and feel free to, like, slow things down and explain it too. Because, we want to make this inclusive for everybody who happens to be staying and watching. So making it entertaining in that fact too is just really important.
Yeah, of course. And with Pokemon, everybody's invited to come along for the ride. That's for sure, right? Any age, it's accepted by everyone. I do want to talk about your YouTube channel a little bit because you're doing something very awesome over there. And it's your kind of like the Pokemon creator type thing for Pokemon Unite. Mm-hmm. And I've only seen Scizor and Lilligant, and I think that's the only two. Or
those are the only two that I have out right now.
Okay. Walk us through that process, because I watched both of them and I thought they were awesome. And like the first thing that came to my mind was like, I am, first off, I don't have the gusto to do that, but also you could do so many, and there's so many good ideas out there, and yours just seemed very fleshed out. Tell me how that came to you.
It was actually just like a fun idea overall. Like, I was in a Discord chat with like a friend, and we were just going back and forth, and we're like, hey, like, we haven't gotten a speedster in a while. Like, what fast Pokemon do we have? And I'm like, I mean, like Scyther Scizor would be pretty cool, and then like you could also later maybe spin Cleavor in there,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, ooh, you get that Legends Arceus touch, and like people will start flooding back and forth between the two, and then it eventually went back to like, okay, what abilities don't we have from like Dota and League and Smite and all those other games that we can incorporate into Pokemon Unite, and then it's just all these cogs turning. It's like, okay, so what if speedster, fast bug, metal, bullet punch, give it the signature moves that it knows, and then put that in, like try to figure out how would that interact in the world of Pokemon Unite. And yeah, for Scizor was like the biggest one for me. I was like, this one needs to come out. Like we haven't gotten a speedster. And then like, believe it or not, like before I started the series, I had Aegislash on that list too.
Oh,
And
really?
I was like, oh man, dude, he's got to have King Shield. And then I look at I look at all the moves, and it's like counter and wide guard, right, or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's wide guard and something else. But I'm like, he doesn't learn King Shield. Like that's his signature move. And so I was like, just rename one of them. Just rename wide guard to King
King
Shield,
Shield.
and then I'll be 100% on board. But yeah, that's one of them. There's a whole bunch of them that I have lined up, and I hinted at it with Lilligant at the end of the latest one when we are getting Duraludon on the 14th on Monday. It's going to be a really quick turnaround. It's going to be really tough to get out the next attacker, but once again, I'm thinking about breaking like the status quo of what we've originally like had for certain Pokemon and just trying to test it. And yeah, there's a lot of like different pieces that go through it, and the thing that like I put out the video immediately, like immediately after I finish it, I just throw it out there
Mm-hmm.
because getting ideas from everybody else from the community is only going to make it stronger. And then on top of that, like later down the line, if people are like, okay, like this is too busted, I'm like, okay, free video on patch notes. How did I fix this now? So I took a lot of things from my game developer friends. It's like, put it out there for now. If people like realize it's too broken, then you tone it down and fix it later. And I'm like, okay. And so that's exactly what happened with Lilligant and Scizor for now. It's just like, these are the raw ideas that I have for this character. We'll see how people respond to it.
Yeah, I mean, I loved both of them, especially Scizor, because I mean, you nailed it on the head. We haven't had a speedster in a while, so
Yeah.
getting to read that and be like, yeah, that really sorted itself out. Can you? I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you divulge some of the, or at least one of the Pokemon on your list that you're kind of working through? I'm not saying it's settled out. I'm not saying it's going to end up on the channel, but just
Okay.
one you have on the list.
There's one that like, okay, I'm not gonna mention the one that's gonna happen on the next video. I'm just pulling up the idea brainstorm sheet real quick. Actually, I could tell you one that almost got scrapped here.
Okay.
So I had one for we you remember we got the big banner thing at the end of like January that said, okay, we have the all rounder, we have the support, and we have the attacker that are coming out. And the first one that came out was Aegislash, and we knew that. And then the second one, we were like, okay, it's got this like ring, like wind thing. What's going on with that? And then we figured out that's hyperspace hole. And I was like, but what if it was just like a recovery ability?
Okay.
And so that's where Lilligant originally came from. It was like, okay, we can use that like heal ability with like Sunny Day. That's what the icon could have been. But the other one was a really interesting one, was Comfey. I had one for Comfey where it would get faster and gain more HP when it picks up Eos energy off the ground.
Oh, very
And
cool.
its whole like thing is that it would like stockpile all this Eos energy, and then you would be able to toss it to your teammates for either healing or for a shield in that moment. And it does cost you like a lot to do that, but let's say if it touches like somebody who's already maxed out, it just drops the Eos energy on the floor, and then it just reabsorbs it. So that was a concept that was gonna be Lilligant, but I decided to lean more towards Lilligant for this one. But yeah, there's just a lot of like really interesting mechanics that we haven't played with yet, and these are Comfey giving it both what is it? Floral healing is its signature ability. I was like, I have to play around with this a little bit.
So, when do you just kind of start with, hey, this Pokemon's kind of my favorite, or I have this idea what Pokemon slots into that idea, or is it a combination of both when you just think of these up?
It's a combination of both because like the first one that comes to mind is like what do we need in the game? Like what things like do we not have in the game that we've seen in previous like MOBAs that made it fun? Or like on the other hand, it's just like, okay, this is my favorite Pokemon. Like I wanna try this. So I get that on occasion. Like I've gotten a lot of like other people. The funniest thing to do, I have it planned for a tweet later, but it's you go to, you know, when Pokemon announces like they're like, oh, okay, Aegislash is coming, or like Hoopa is here, and then everybody just types in like, should have been this one, should have did that, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is just free food. And so it's just really funny to see like what people have, like they're like, oh, well, what about this, what about this, and I love eating those up and being like, okay, but like, how would that work? Or like, okay, so you want this Pokemon, how would their abilities work in the game, and how fun would that be for everybody to just see like play out in general?
One thing, actually, two things. One of them was Zoinks' idea, so I'll definitely give them credit for this. But one of my favorite pokes recently discovered. That's one thing too. I'm a Gen 1er, so like,
Okay.
I was learning Pokemon as I was playing the TCG. Like, so like
Okay.
Gen 5
Yeah.
stuff and stuff like that. You know, I know I liked Pelipper because pelicans are my favorite animals in real life. But like, I just discovered, no exaggeration, Kecleon like 6 weeks ago. And I now
Oh, okay.
I like love Kecleon. I'm like, where was this Pokemon my whole life? Actually, if you look like right about where my finger is, like I have 3
Yeah.
Kecleon plushies right there. I'm like all in on Kecleon. So Zoinks was like, Kecleon, baby, a bush stalker. It just goes from bush to bush. And then like we started kind of just going back and forth on that idea for a Pokemon in the game. So, something I want to collab with you with, if you're up to it, is one, let's figure out Kecleon. And second
Gotcha.
is I thought Tangela Tangrowth with like a Thresh type ability would be awesome.
I have that one planned too.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. I was like either with Thresh or with like Blitz like hook ability. Those ones are the two things that we don't have. Like we have Lick, right? That's it. Like Haunter learns Lick and then he forgets Lick. And I'm like, I want Lick. Like give me that ability, but like later. And so I was like brainstorming that as well with like Tangela and Tangrowth, and then like also mixing other like characters with it. So we'll see if I flush that one out too, but that will definitely be a later one.
Okay. I'll
Down the
leave that
line.
one- I will leave that out to you. You are the professional here, but I would love.
But we will talk about Kecleon.
I would
we will
love
talk
to
about
work
that
on
then.
that with you, just as kind of like a personal thing. If you're up for it, I am 100% down. 100%.
Oh yeah, I'm 100% down with it too. Does wait? I don't remember if like League has characters that can go invisible. I know Dota can. Like Dota has like characters that can.
So
but
it could be like some invisibility, give a player an invisibility, or it could be Zoinks' idea was like it literally like can teleport from bush to bush without being seen.
yeah,
You know,
that
from
would be
tall grass to
interesting.
tall grass. And I thought just all of that just sounded awesome. And I, just having figured out Kecleon is a real thing 6 weeks ago. I don't know all of its VGC-esque stylings. So definitely going to have to lean on you for that, but it is something I want to work on with you. Anyways, we've been talking about your YouTube channel a whole bunch, so please plug it right now before I forget to have you do that. Take it away.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys want to check out Pokemon Unite concept videos and just Unite content in general, feel free to follow Kanashii on YouTube. That is where I've been posting a lot of these. And not only have I done like concept stuff, I'm slowly implementing like other things as well. I did a John Oliver piece on baby Pokemon, which was pretty funny. And I'm working on another one. But we'll see, like, the concept ones definitely take a lot more time, so I want to like fill things in, and it will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I actually watched that baby Pokemon video as well, and it was very good. So definitely check out the channel. I subscribed today. I mean, it's just gangbusters over there, so don't miss out. Kanashii, I have to ask you, two-part question. Number one, is your favorite Pokemon in Pokemon Unite? And if it's not, what is it?
Ooh. I've had a lot of like favorite Pokemon over the years just because like
Same.
there are things that like I leaned on. There's one like for my VGC teams, the ones that like I bring all the time is Milotic. And I was like, a lot of people have been talking about it, and I'm like, how would Feebas move? That's one thing that like I had issues with. It's like, do you make it swim or do you like flop it back and forth until it evolves? But yeah, Milotic is definitely one of them. And then the other one was Serena, because that one was the first Pokemon that did get me to the end. You got me to Masters in Series 6. But yeah, there's a lot of like really cool Pokemon that we haven't like tackled. Another one was like Torterra. I love Torterra. I think that would be a really interesting one to implement in the game too. So yeah, it just depends on that. And then another thing like I failed to mention was when I do concept out videos, I do look at the current spread of like what generation Pokemon have we not got in the game. So like with Lilligant, it would be the only other Gen 5 besides Crustle. And then there's only 2 in Gen 3, 2 currently in Gen 2, I believe. And then there's a couple other ones. So I'm like trying to hit those middle numbers. So like, it's not just like, okay, only 7 and 8 and only 1.
Right.
So yeah, it's just, I just want to flush that out a little bit more too.
Well, because I don't actually know, where does Kecleon fall in this flow chart? Is it 5? Is it 4? 5?
I think it's Gen 3. Let me just double check.
We're all on the Google machines here.
Yeah, we're hitting the Sarah B real quick. It is Gen 3.
Gen 3.
Yes.
Okay. Way off. Wasn't even the stratosphere. Not a big deal. So, what is on the forward path here for Kanashii? Obviously casting, no doubt about that. Growing this YouTube channel, of course. But is there anything else that you're working on, some projects, some opportunities that we can talk about and you can kind of shed some light on to those that are watching right now?
Yeah. The only other thing that like I've really been working on, believe it or not, I'm trying to get more IRL streaming stuff done. Okay. Believe it or not, like I'm pretty good at mini hoops, like the arcade basketball hoops, and like if there's any place that has arcade basketball, I'm like, I'm gonna go. Like, I'm sorry, I have to be there. And it's really funny too, because like I just started this next part-time job at an escape room, and down the street there's like a Dave & Buster's, and I didn't tell any of my coworkers like that I'm really good at the game. So like I'll just go over there, I'll be like, oh yeah, wait, is this the one where you put the ball in the hoop? And then I'll just like I'll just like break the record, and I'll just play it off super casually. But yeah, that's another thing that like I've been having a lot of fun doing, just going out and exploring, and once again like emerging from the cocoon, which was, you know, quarantine, and just living life right now, you know,
trying to find some sense of just reality and, you know, going out and touching some grass. How did you get into mini hoops? I have to ask that.
Ooh. So I'm a huge basketball fan from like birth. I'm from the West Coast, so the Golden State Warriors are my team. I love, you know, the way how they played. And a lot of people are like, oh, you're a bandwagoner, and I'm like, no, I've been there since they sucked. Believe it or not, like the Warriors old like slogan to like get people to show up was, it's a great timeout. So like it was, they were selling the timeout and not even the game. And like my older cousin said, like, yeah, if you showed up at like halftime, they would just like let you in, because like they're like, who actually wants to watch this? And so I remember those days where they were like terrible, but now they're like, you know, top of everything. And you know, I was just like, okay, I want to like stay active in basketball in some way. And then I went to the mini hoops, and I'm like, okay, I'm actually pretty good at this. So I just kept going. I go to different places, and then some places like reset their things weekly. So I go over there and I'm like, okay, I'll just like, you know, see how well I can do. And other places just hold their record for the longest time. And so the one that the Dave & Buster's that's down the street from me has always had the record of 188. And I've gotten to 177 on that machine, and I'm like, I just need like maybe 4 or 5 more to drop, and then I'll be there. And so that'll definitely be something that's like super interesting. Other than that, it's just like whatever happens. If I happen to like find time to go stream or have fun on the Twitch stream in general, that's when I'll put out more content.
There you go. I mean, I saw a clip of you, and it was just, I mean, you're a machine. Just knifing
It's
them in there.
fun.
Just absolutely whizzing them in there. I was very impressed, and something I can't do because I'm not coordinated up with that. So shout out to you. Kanashii, we are kind of approaching the end of our time here, so I want to give you the opportunity again, just free reign. Anything you want to plug, shout outs to whomever you'd like. The floor is completely yours. Please take it away.
So yeah, once again, like thank you, Doob Snacks, for inviting me onto this. That's number one. I got to thank the Unite community for supporting us and letting us have the platform to do this and a whole bunch of tournaments, from the past and hopefully into the future as well. And yeah, I have to just if you guys want to check out all of my other stuff, I'm on Twitter at Kanashii_GG. YouTube channel is just Kanashii right now. Twitter is mostly where I post. If you guys want to see like any updates or anything, or if I happen to go live, I'll probably post it there too. But yeah, I got to thank my parents for keeping me alive. That's another thing. So yeah, all those are really, really important peeps. My dog for keeping me happy. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I love, being able to yell at a computer screen for, a couple hours and just have fun with the whole community and chat and everybody. And I hope that this continues on forward into the future.
I could not agree more. I could not agree more. I want to take just a quick moment and thank you for joining me. Like I said, I had a scheduling snafu, and I was elated when you were the first person to respond, and we started chatting about it. I was like, this is going to be amazing. So thank you so much. So glad it worked out and that you were able to join me here. Of course, I'm going to have to plug all the Unite Mic stuff, right? So on Twitter, at Unite Mics, twitch.tv/Unite Mics. You're here. You're watching. You already know. So make sure you follow there. And YouTube as well, youtube.com/Unite Mics. Subscribe there. Everything helps. I want to shout out Zoinks, also part of Unite Mics, who's doing the Overdunk podcast, getting the teams on, top competitive teams, to kind of chat through their most recent tournaments, their team makeup, team composition, and just kind of how they all mesh together. So please check that out. There's going to be another episode of Overdunk a bit later this week. I believe it's Thursday. And of course, anything you can do to support, Unite Mics or Kanashii and help open the door for us to find those opportunities. We are very passionate about the game. We work very hard, and we're always striving to improve. So any comments or any concerns, anything you can send our way to help us grow is greatly appreciated. And I don't think Kanashii will disagree with that. So on behalf of Kanashii, I'm Doob Snacks. This is Late Night Unite, and we will catch you next time. Thank you so much.